Welcome back to our current episode of Mindful Matters podcast. I believe we are at the magical number 13, which is a very nice one for me because that's one of the days my older son was born. So it is kind of a lucky number for me. And welcome back. Good to have you here. Good to have you here, Richard, and good to have you, our listener here, who we are doing all of this for. So welcome back. Thank you for coming back to these podcasts, and I hope you are taking away practical value and good things and good feelings that you can apply and actually make your day better. I am Oresztesz Murgacs. I am here with my co-host, Richard Haggerty, the coach of coaches, which is apparently something that I have said so many times that it even comes out when artificial intelligence sums up our show, which means that, Richard, people are getting to know you, which is fantastic. You can find me on lessanxietytoday.com and Less Anxiety Today YouTube channel. Make sure that you visit us, make sure that you check that out, because there is so much more. I mean, we have been talking here for hours, but there is so much more. And I have Richard right here with me, good friend, awesome co-host. Richard, welcome. Great to have you.
Thank you, Oresztesz. Look, I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad everyone's listening as well. This is our passion to help other people. And please, if you do have any questions, if you want to connect with me, you can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, or through my daily email. There's links below in the notes for this video for both of us, which will show you how to get in touch. And I believe, Oresztesz, I think because we have been so prolific of late, I think we may even be heading towards video 14 here, but don't quote me on that until I've seen them, until I've seen them all. That is how much fun we have been having, and we are rocketing along here at the beginning of this year.
Oh no, actually, I think you caught me. It's that is the reason that last week's podcast was a little bit late. If you're listening to this when it's coming out, the reason is I got a little bit behind on editing, but it is going to be, well, it has been there. If you are here, that's already in the past. But thank you for the correction. I did have number 13 in my mind. So awesome. So either way, good to have you here. And I believe this is a great time to take yet another quick look at what else we can do when setting your mind on the course of setting your mind on the course that you want it to be in. We talked last time about how you can just be appreciative, sit with whatever is already happening, notice it, acknowledge it, but don't get too wrapped up in it, which is the old course, not taking you away from where you want to be. Now, most of the time when you're looking for something different, there is going to be a little bit of something new in there, which means that there is this word that I think has been used so many times, and it's maybe a little bit misunderstood, or at least it's very easy to not understand some of the little nuances that are very important about how to use affirmations. Affirmations. Richard, what comes to mind when you think classically about the idea of affirmations?
Well, it's really nice, Oresztesz. I think when I think back to like when I first heard them in personal development, I mean, the classic affirmation is every day and every way I'm getting better and better. You know, Emile Coué's affirmation, and I believe that there is inside of that is a real kernel that we can explore today, which is how do we ingrain that in our neurology, in our body, in our mind, so that it becomes part of us, because the original way that that mostly I've seen them written in certainly more modern personal development books is you'll just repeat them again and again to yourself. You might beat your chest, you might make a certain signal when you do it, you might kind of shout it at the top of your voice, but some of those maybe are less socially acceptable or less probably would fit in with some people's personality. So I think when people come across that, they come across it in the context of typically just as it being a thing that they repeat, or something that they say very loudly. And as we know, there's a far richer history of that, far richer kind of origins of that. And the actual words are important, but they're just part of the equation.
Absolutely, and I think it's really important to just understand what it is that we want to do today with the concept of affirmations. Affirmations, if they have worked for you, then please enjoy understanding the principles behind it, recognize what makes it work for you, but you don't have to change it. If they have worked for you, if you have enjoyed it, awesome, congratulations. It means that you have applied those affirmations in the way that they were intended, right? So if they have been working for you, awesome. If they have not been working for you, then you are in for a treat, because, you know, there are situations where one specific way of doing affirmations, it might not be appropriate for your lifestyle. It might not have worked for you. And when that happens, that means that you're probably missing out on some of the principles that we will try to find here. Now, many of the ways in which affirmations are suggested and recommended to apply, they are ways in which they try to represent the principle of making it work. You do not have to yell out an affirmation for it to be empowering and strong and positive for you. But the idea of yelling it out, it is trying to represent some of the principles that we are going to be talking about here. It might even overcome some of the obstacles. But what I want you to do, and what we want you to do today, what we want you to take away, is understanding what makes affirmations work, and then you can apply them to yourself. I mean, who wouldn't want to really every day and in every way get better, right? And wouldn't that be awesome if that was just really something that was actually happening for you? I would love that to happen. And to a certain degree, I believe it is happening, whatever we do anyway. But it is really important that you understand what affirmations will be. Now, to quickly cover the content, we are not going to be talking too much about the content today, more the principles of what make that content work. So the content, it can really be anything that you want for yourself. The content of an affirmation, and we might just keep using the every day and every way I'm getting better and better as a template. But in these words, you can put in anything that is relevant for you, right? So you can use any words that you want to, that represent a way in which you are improving your reality, in which you are improving yourself, something that you want to become true in your life, or something that you want to more wholeheartedly believe or know about yourself. Maybe I feel confident, I trust people, I talk to people with ease, I find a reason to smile every morning, I am grateful for life. So any number of ideas that are relevant, you can use as content. Rich, anything that you want to say specifically about the content that could be useful?
Just no, really. Just I think I absolutely 100% what you're saying. A couple of nuances that might be useful just to flag up, which are related to the principles that we'll be talking about. Oresztesz, is that let's say that somebody wants to get the ultimate thing would be I wake out of bed feeling happy, or I'm grateful for my job, or I love my life. If when you go to say that, right, the wording doesn't feel right, or if there's a big feeling inside you where you kind of like feels like the pit of your stomach where you're dropping, that your mind is rejecting it, your body is rejecting it automatically, then what I suggest is picking a bridging affirmation. Okay, so by that I mean that start with where you're at. Okay, it can be something like, and you can do it in two ways. You can either do it like, let's say you like walking around and saying it for yourself, or let's say you like sitting in a chair and repeating it to yourself. You could say, I'm sitting in a chair. I'm sitting in a chair and noticing my breathing. And I'm learning to relax more deeply. So if you've been, for instance, having a lot of stress in your life, if you want to say, you may find just going and saying, I'm relaxed, or I'm calm, or I have no stress in my life, that may be too big of a leap. And I, at least for myself, the way that I've made these work over the years is I always start with where I'm at, and I ground myself in something that I can't disagree with in the environment that's happening. I'm breathing. Or, oh, I can feel my legs, or, oh, I'm sitting down and I'm relaxing more comfortably. And so by picking a kind of what I call a bridging affirmation that is linked to something that you can accept, what happens then is, much like we said with setting kind of goals for the year and outcomes for the year, you're going to be starting from your point of success. You're going to be starting from what you can accept. And this is really the core of the affirmations, that for them to become sort of part of you, they need to be accepted. So you can make it a lot easier on yourself by starting on that, and then as that gets as you feel more certain about that, you can start adding another one later on, or another tier. So I don't know if that's been your experience, Oresztesz, in terms of the principles, but I think it's going to be a lot easier to do that than to start off from, if somebody who, I'll give you an example. The other day, I was reading a blog post by somebody who had actually bought somebody else's affirmations. He didn't buy my one on gratitude, but he bought someone else's one on that. And it said, I wake up every morning full of gratitude and full of joy. But the person who wrote the article had been made redundant from their job. So they had no job, their money was running out, had to support their family. So now they're listening to this every morning, and they mentioned in passing that they could not, it was not something they could accept for themselves. And so it's much easier to accept where you're at and have like a next step that absolutely you can buy into.
Totally. So in terms of content, in the way that you want to express this is the idea of bridging your path to where you're going. So you can either have a goal in mind, something that you are going to be doing, or someone that you want to become. Like, let's say with your friend, we could say, if we keep their example, we could say, I am working my way towards happiness. I am becoming happier every day. Or if it's a completely miserable situation, it is, although you might not hear this very often, but it's fine if you are in an absolutely terrible situation to say it at first in the negative, because as long as there is more acknowledgement in where you are feeling, then the idea of saying I'm becoming, I'm going away from misery, I'm leaving the bad feelings. It's for a little bit, it's fine, as long as that makes it. The important thing is that you want this to really feel like something that you can stomach. And very literally,
Perfect.
check it in your stomach. It is something that you can accept and you can agree with. That is more important than making sure that the goal and the outcome looks beautiful. It is more important that you understand in what direction you are moving. So the bridging way of working with your affirmations, definitely make sure that you take into account where you are, and you either say, I am on my way. You can say, I'm on my way, or I'm becoming more and more this, or this is, or you can even say that if it's really difficult for you, you can even just say, I really want this, or I have my eyes on waking up happy every morning. If that is something that you can accept, then you are actually on your way towards that. Because just the fact that you desire to be happy, think about this, just the fact that you desire to be happy, it already means that on some level, part of you knows. Part of you knows, even your friend with an absolute miserable experience, which I'm very sad that he's having. On some level, he knows and he believes that there is something more for him. If he has the energy to listen to those recordings, even though they feel like they're not working for him, on some level he believes it, and that belief means that it is possible and it is real for him, right? So the content part of it, let's call these softeners. You can soften the affirmation that you're making for yourself. Instead of saying, I wake up the happiest person every day, and I open my eyes with the biggest smile in the world, you can soften it by saying, I'm on my way, I'm becoming more and more, or I'm doing more and more. And, or even you can just go with the idea is that this is what I want. I want to become happier every day. I have my eyes set on this goal. And that is already enough. It's more important that you accept it, that you can feel like that is true, than for it to be fantastic, but you don't believe it, and all you feel is how distant from that goal you are.
Mm-hmm.
That is the biggest part in terms of
Very nice. Yeah, I really like that. Now, I will say one very quickly bit of good news. The person who wrote the person who did, I was talking about, did the blog, got a job. They're happy. They reevaluated their life. So but they were looking back at the beginning, and they recognized the where they started from. The leap was too big. But here's the thing: I've had this is really important, and this ties in exactly with what you're saying, that it's okay if you're in a difficult situation to acknowledge it. And in fact, it's really important. So I'll give you an example. I was working with somebody who said, who was not feeling great, and they realized that they were saying to themselves, I am depressed. And I said, okay, I totally get that. Okay. So the exercise was to change the language from I am depressed to I feel depressed. Now it's a small shift. But one is at the level of identity, saying that this really is who I am, and the other was pointing to the fact that it's an experience that they're noticing. And then what we did was the affirmation that they felt comfortable, that they thought they could accept, would be, I can notice my breathing. And so whenever they were experiencing something during the day, they could say, I'm feeling depressed. It might not always be that. They might just say, I can notice my breathing. But if they were feeling like a little bit anxious or something, they could say, I'm feeling anxious and I can pay attention to my breathing. And this is really nice because this is working with you. It's working with where you're at. And one of the kind of principles behind all this, Oresztesz, is that we're kind of helping develop a little bit of kind of a dual awareness, an ability to notice that we can impact ourselves, the way that we feel and the way that we kind of look at the world. And simply one of the ways that we do this is the way that we talk to ourselves. And really, that's what everyone calls thinking. So really, affirmations are just a natural way for us to tie into our natural way of thinking and our natural inclination to do that, and just know that we can ultimately influence the course of our own life. And that's a really lovely place. So you start from wherever you're at, and look for one or two steps ahead that feel good to you, that feel quite inspiring for you. And if it feels good, and if it feels inspiring, if it feels exciting, like, I love the feeling. Like, if I said to myself, oh, I go out running every day, it's not so inspiring. If I said, you are brilliant at running and you can go out every day, that doesn't really do it for me. But if I say to myself, I love the feeling when I get back from a run and I take a shower and I'm chatting with my friends during the day, and I talk about the experience I've had out running or going out with my son or what I've been doing at the weekend, then that feels great. Okay, so you have to find the point of that there. And you can, in that case, you can use the affirmations to get more of something that you want to have, you want to have more consistently. Okay, and it's the secret really is to just look to where you're at and make sure that it feels really good.
Completely. Yes. And you mentioned something really important that I think it's a really good idea to keep in mind, to be aware of this. Again, as you are constructing your affirmations, this is again a principle that goes a little bit to the part of the content. So the principle that you want to be aware of is, imagine just a little bit of a little matrix that only has 4 quadrants. One is identity and behavior, and the other is time in terms of long term and short term. So if you break up, the strongest quadrant of this little matrix is going to be identity and long term, which is, I'm depressed. That's not exactly identity, but that feels like it's long term, it's permanent. Permanent and temporary is a big change that you can make. Or I am feeling depressed right now. It in fact takes it more towards the weakest of the quadrants, where the least connection is made to that, which is, I'm feeling like this right now. The weakest part of it, I'm feeling bad now, or I'm feeling bad this morning. That is already, you have reduced it to the weakest of the quadrants. If you're saying that more towards more like a permanent thing, I feel depressed, that's a little bit stronger. The worst thing that you can do is take it like, I'm a depressed person. That is the worst thing that you can do for a negative thing. Now, the more you move around the wording, you can actually feel how different it feels if you are moving it from behavior, which is something you're doing, and more towards something temporary, something that you're doing right now. And of course, so anything negative, you want to always take it towards the temporary and towards behavior instead of identity. Now, of course, the good things that you want to do, this part, the negative part, is what you will use in what Richard described in the beginning, when you're noticing your current state. I may be feeling bad right now, or I am actually feeling right now, is what I would say if that is my reality, so that I can accept that. My heart is beating, or I just finished this phone call and I'm quite upset. You can notice that. You can say that. I'm quite upset right now, which is again moves it to temporary. And then you go towards the positive affirmation that you want, which can then be, then you can, again, taking into account what we said in the beginning, make sure that you can agree with it, But as soon as you can, as far as you can agree with it, you can take it from temporary and behavior more towards identity. Like I am a happy person, or I am becoming a happy person, and more towards long term instead of just a temporary behavior that you're doing right now. So again, you can strengthen positive by taking it up the stronger quadrants, and you can weaken the negative when you're talking to yourself as you take it down from identity to behavior and from permanent to temporary.
Yeah, very nice. I think it's a lovely distinction, Oresztesz, and I really like that idea of I'm becoming, I'm in the process of, because there's no, you will, if you know, I mean, most of us could get on board with the idea that, you know, saying I'm a millionaire or I can make $1 million can be could be quite tough for most people. But I'm on the process to becoming wealthier, or I'm in the process of learning how to manage wealth, or I'm in the process of learning how to run a solid business, you know, that generates wealth and adds real value. Well, that can work really well. And the same for relationships, you know. For somebody who's shy and has not had a long-term relationship or not had one for a while, I attract a beautiful, stunning partner who's a model and a millionairess, overnight. It's going to be difficult. Whereas, I can make new friends, or, you know, I'm in the process of making new friends, or I'm in the process of developing qualities in myself that can allow me to meet new people, or, you know, I'm in the process of joining social clubs and making new friends and making new connections. So there's zero pressure. And in fact, years ago, one of the people I met who is now happily married, who I coached, there were a number of people, both men and women, I coached over the years. It's really lovely. And it was just that, go and have fun. Go and have fun and meet people, you know. And he had an affirmation in the end, which was, every time I speak with someone of the opposite sex, I make them laugh. You know, I will do whatever I can to leave them feeling happier and better than when I met them. And you know what? At the end of the day, he had a long line of people who really wanted eventually to be with him. And it's exactly the process that you're mentioning, Oresztesz.
Wonderful. Love it. And also, I wanted to just, even if you don't feel like there is something particularly important that you want to work on, I highly recommend that you jump in and begin to create some kind of an affirmation for yourself. I want to recommend something that we have no affiliation with or anything. It's just something that is a good place to start, which is, I love this product. It's called the Virtues Reflection Cards. It's basically this 100, I think, different virtues, including joyfulness, patience, flexibility, enthusiasm, many things that you can just explore as something that you are. And they actually come with a little bit of a description, like what diligence is in their explanation. They have a nice little quote and actual affirmations that you can use. For example, with diligence, I give 100% to the work I do. I strive for excellence. I pay full attention to whatever I'm doing. I'm conscious and careful. I work with love, and I give my best to my relationships. So awesome product. The Virtues Project is where you can find this. Or basically anything. This is just a very good way in which you have great affirmations that you can begin to apply for yourself. I hope they are still producing it. It's something that was printed in 2005. I hope it continues, but it is lovely. And as long as you keep in mind everything that we talked about today, you can say, I give 100% to the work I do. Again, it's a great affirmation as long as you can agree with it. If you feel depressed, if you feel awful, then this is going to be something that is too high. And then you can create the distance that in psychology is known as cognitive dissonance, which means it feels like I'm so not there that I actually feel bad about where I am. And that is something that you definitely want to avoid. If you really feel like you're giving 5%, saying to yourself, even if you yell it out in front of a mirror, I'm giving 100% to the work that I do, even if you believe it for the 5 seconds that you are in front of the mirror, and then you just feel like the rest of your day is just how untrue that is, then apply the principles that we have given to you. Notice where you are, acknowledge it, scale the affirmation a little bit to the point where you can believe it, right? I am working towards giving 100% to the work that I do. I have all of my attention on giving 100% to the work that I do. I am becoming the person that gives 100% to the work that I do, right? So make sure that you apply these things, you apply the principles that we shared with you today, and then you can actually take these ideas, make them yours, and make sure that you, every single day, when you repeat these ideas to yourself, are creating the kind of future that you want for yourself.
Beautiful. I love it, Oresztesz. And I think that's it. And I have like one final thought, which is exactly as you're saying. You know, start off from wherever you are. Find something you can help. You know what helped me when I was learning self-hypnosis was I would start off, I would have my hand on my lap and I would push down on my hand and I would say, my hand is heavy. My hand is feeling heavy. My hand has a lot of pressure on it. And I'm relaxing deeply. And I would do that, and I would do that diligently for a couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes there during the day. And it taught me to get into a very relaxed state, nice and easily. One, because I could accept the first suggestion I was giving to myself, and the second one just happened very naturally as a consequence of that. And then, well, then that's when you can start creating wonderful things in your life. You know, like you said, if somebody's starting off with, well, they're in a depressed or anxious state, it's okay to say, you know, I'm feeling this way. And if they're trying to they might want to have like a twin affirmation, you know, I'm learning to be calm and look after myself, and I accept myself as I am, and I'm learning to work more diligently and get more done. So it's okay to do that, but keep it simple, be kind to yourself. And as you start to do this, a funny thing happens. As you make this a part of your daily routine, a couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes there, suddenly during the day, there will come a time when something comes up, or someone says something, or you just notice that you are feeling better. And that's when you'll know affirmations work for you.
Beautiful. And we wish that you do feel like this. And please make sure that you leave us some comments about what other themes you would love to hear about. The things that are working for you. You might even want to share your affirmation. Leave it in the comments for us. What is the affirmation that has started working for you, or what is something that you would love to work towards? Leave an affirmation in the comments, or just leave us something that you said that you enjoyed about today's episode. Make sure that you have a lot of fun with this, and make sure that you create ways in which you can enjoy, believe, and get behind the suggestions that you're giving yourself, and you feel like they are empowering you and they inspire you. I hope you have a lot of fun with this, and make sure that you check out the show notes where you can find Less Anxiety Today, and you can find Richard Haggerty everywhere. any major platform, you will be able to find him. And you enjoyed this. Thank you for staying till the end. Make sure you're subscribed, make sure that you like, and see you next week. Thank you for sticking around.